So right now, as I speak, 24 hours ago, the 49ers were about to rip the hearts out of the Green Bay Packers. The 49ers were behind. Brock Purdy would lead the comeback drive. Dre Greenlaw would finish the job with his interception. An absolutely horrific decision from Jordan Love just over 24 hours ago to throw across his body like Brett Favre did against the New Orleans Saints in the NFC Championship game when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. That horrific decision from Jordan Love put a nail in Green Bay's coffin. Dre Greenlaw, he might still be running right now. John Lynch might still be screaming, jumping up and down on the sideline, pointing down, get down, get down, get down. Dre Greenlaw ran over 100 yards. The GPS tracker had him at over 100 yards between his two interceptions, carrying the ball like a loaf of bread. It was great. On the bum Achilles as well. He's got Achilles tendonitis. Dre Greenlaw didn't care. He wanted to deliver a pick six. He told Fred Warner he was going to deliver a pick six. So he wanted to be a man of his word. Somebody else that was a man of his word was Christian McCaffrey, who actually told Kyle Shanahan that he was going to score on one of the 8 scripted plays. 18 Mike was the name of the play in the second half. And McCaffrey did score. That was the 39-yard touchdown. Then McCaffrey did deliver on the 5-yard touchdown. Brock Purdy did deliver in the clutch, his Joe Montana-like moment. And you know, the whole Montana thing, it's so ridiculous that that's turned into a firestorm. People need to learn how to analyze history. Seriously, it is embarrassing how people do not know how to grasp historical context, and especially context at a particular time. When you say Joe Montana moment, you're not saying this is a Joe Montana career. You're saying Brock Purdy had a Joe Montana moment. The word moment means one time-constrained period. It doesn't mean 20 years. It doesn't mean an entire season. It means what happened last night in the comeback. And I specifically cited the Joe Montana moment that I was talking about, and it was the January 1982 NFC Championship game. Joe Montana threw 3 interceptions that day. The 49ers turned the ball over 6 times. Exactly 6 times, not over 6 times. They turned the ball over 6 times against the Dallas Cowboys. Nothing was going right. Does that sound familiar? Yesterday, stuff wasn't going right for the 49ers offensively. It wasn't going right for the 49ers defensively. And it wasn't going right for the 49ers on special teams. None of that was working in their favor. Yet the 49ers and Brock Purdy found a way to get it done, just like the 49ers and Joe Montana found a way to get it done after 3 interceptions and 6 turnovers against the Dallas Cowboys in January of 1982. They snapped into form, marched down the field. Joe Cool was born on that day. And this is about Brock Purdy building his own legacy moving forward. But I think my friend said it the best, and this is in a text that I got today, and I'll read it right now. It's crazy. People have no idea how to analyze history. It's about looking at January 1982 through the lens of January 1982. Joe Montana was a 3rd-round pick who was 25 years old and had 1 playoff win under his belt at the time. He threw 3 picks, and then he had to go and win it. People act like everyone at Candlestick Park that day experienced that game with the understanding that Montana would win 4 Super Bowls and make the Hall of Fame. No, he was an unproven quarterback who was a year older than Purdy is right now. It's about how legacies begin, and to know not to bury the kid for winning a game in a manner even all-time greats had to win in. Every single one of the all-time greats, and especially Joe Montana, in a similar comparable situation to Brock Purdy, have had to win games ugly in the postseason. Tom Brady's career started by winning ugly in the postseason. You guys remember the Tuck rule? That was Tom Brady. That was his first season in the snow in New England. I'm sure you remember the Super Bowl where they beat the Rams. That was a defense-driven Super Bowl. Watch every single one of the passes as they move downfield for Adam Vinatieri to put him into field goal range. It's a check down fest for for Tom Brady. I don't see or hear anybody criticizing him for that. That's exactly what needed to be done at the time. Tom Brady didn't become the lethal downfield passer until he amassed years and years of experience. He finished his career as a much more aggressive, lethal downfield quarterback than he began it. But at the start of his career, he had those defensive and special teams units around him that helped pave the way for the New England Patriots. It's almost like it's a team sport, and success can be reciprocal between staff and quarterback and all this. The people who don't understand the connection between what Brock Purdy did yesterday and what Joe Montana did at the start of his career in the past, the people who don't get it, they don't understand football. They're not qualified analysts. They're doing a disservice to the history of the 49ers that's there for them to study, to understand what the 49ers are doing now. So they're doing a disservice to the entire coverage of the football team right now, because to understand what the 49ers are doing now and to portray it in as accurate of a way possible, to be as fair and objective of a reporter as possible, if you listen to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they talk about building on the greatness of the past. They talk about establishing the same cultural norms in the building that made the 49ers so good under Bill Walsh. If you don't understand that a lot of what the 49ers are doing now, they're trying to build on the back of giants. If you don't incorporate that in any analysis, and if you reject the idea that Joe Montana had a similar struggle to heroic moment pattern in one of his formative moments as Brock Purdy did yesterday, then you're just completely missing the point. You don't understand how this works. And if you don't understand how this works, well, I think ultimately you do the viewers a disservice, you're doing the readers a disservice, and people just aren't any smarter. So I think it's important to go for smart football analysis. That's what I read, what I got from my friend right there. View January 1982 through the lens of January 1982, then compare it to January of 2024. And then you'll see that Brock Purdy's trying to build his own legacy, and you'll stay away from stupid blanket statements like, oh, Brock Purdy is Joe Montana. No, we're comparing Brock Purdy's moment to Joe Montana's moment as a 25-year-old. Purdy's 24 right now, by the way. He turned 24 not too long ago. I think just right after Christmas, he turned 24 years old. So there's perspective for you as the 49ers turn the page from the Packers to the Detroit Lions. This is the type of environment right now. We're in the middle of January, big comeback playoff win for the 49ers, NFC Championship game coming up. It's going to be Jared Goff, the Bay Area native, against Brock Purdy. These are the weeks when legacies can be built, can truly be built. You can only do so much in the regular season, but then the postseason comes, and this is the kind of stuff that people actually remember. So with Goff coming to town, he has a chance to right the ship of his legacy, right? It took a nosedive when the Rams traded him away. He wasn't able to get the Rams over the hump. He had that terrible Super Bowl against the New England Patriots to close the 2018 season. It seemed that Jared Goff was damaged goods, but he has resuscitated his career in Detroit. It does seem that Brock Purdy is a better quarterback. Purdy is better against pressure than Jared Goff. He's not as, I think, prototypically talented with his arm, with the size. Jared Goff is taller, but Brock Purdy has shown more moxie, and he's obviously shown more efficiency this year. But Goff has done a good job helming this Detroit offense into a respectable area of efficiency, to the point where it's safe to say that the Detroit Lions are a offense-driven team. Here are team tiers. So further to the right means the offense is better for a team. Further up means the defense is better. You want to be in the upper right. As you can tell, the 49ers have had a relatively mediocre defense this year. This includes the playoff games from this weekend. The 49ers, though, because their offense has been so damn good, are still the only tier 1 team in all of football. Baltimore remains alive right behind the 49ers. Buffalo and Dallas have both been eliminated. They're the other tier 2 teams. Kansas City, a tier 3 team, went on the road and beat Buffalo today, because I think the Kansas City style of football, as I talked about, is much more sustainable than Buffalo's style of football. So you can see KC there in tier 3, still alive, ready to challenge the Ravens, a tier 2 team next week. And then you look at the Lions. The Lions are on the border of tier 3 and tier 4. We remember the season opener, right? The Thursday night game where the Lions went into Arrowhead Stadium and beat the Chiefs. Well, these are two fairly evenly matched teams. The Chiefs actually are in a spot where their offense has been less efficient this season than Jared Goff's Lions, but their defense has taken them up here. Their defense is ranked probably number 4 out of all these teams. So the Chiefs have the second highest rated defense still surviving in NFL playoffs. And that balance for them has, I think, been something that gives them a very, very good shot to take on and potentially upset the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship this coming Sunday. But the Lions, they're a team that has a similar profile as the Rams. Not too different of a profile than Green Bay, although Green Bay changed a lot over the course of this season. The Packers, they surged offensively. If we just narrowed this down to week 9 to now, Green Bay, we saw their dot. It's way over here. It's near the 49ers. So the 49ers, I think, very arguably played the toughest competition that they can possibly see in the NFC when they face the Packers. And obviously, in that very hard fought, come from behind victory yesterday, the 49ers have vanquished the Packers. Now they set their sights on the Lions, and the 49ers are touchdown favorites against the Detroit Lions because they're better offensively and they're better defensively. They've been more efficient all season long. Now, there are micro battles within all of this. And I think the biggest micro battle with the Lions happens against their running attack. They're the number 4 run offense in football, and the 49ers are mired down at number 26 in run defense. And if Detroit can highlight that micro battle and make it a focal point of this game, then they can erase, at least in all practicality, some of the disadvantages they face on a more aggregate level. So for the Lions, the trick is to bring their logo closer to the 49ers logo to give themselves a chance to win next Sunday. That means they're going to have to find a way to make their offense more efficient and make the 49ers defense less efficient. And also the same thing's going to apply to the other side of the ball. And I think that Detroit's opening lies in the 49ers' weakness on run defense, with the 49ers ranking number 26 on that side of the football, and Detroit obviously being in the top 5 when it comes to run offense. Other side of the ball is interesting too, with that top-ranked run defense. The Lions haven't been nearly as good against the pass, but we'll see if they can cut out some of what makes the 49ers so effective in their balanced run-pass formula. How about that weather? 68 degrees and dry. I was talking about some of the unheralded heroes a little bit earlier, and, it'd just be fun to go through everything. I do think the 49ers need to be better setting the edge, especially beyond Nick Bosa. I think that early in the game, we saw Chase Young not winning enough on the edge for the 49ers. But as the game wore along, some of the adjustments the 49ers made, some of which came by virtue of field position and game score toward the end, obviously, in the last minute, the Packers couldn't run the ball anymore, but the 49ers were in much better position by game's end to defend what the Green Bay Packers were doing. And again, this was the best offense outside of San Francisco over the back half of this season. So the 49ers defense was as strained as it might be the rest of the way, just given the fact that Green Bay was able to attack them in such a balanced fashion. I'm going to open this up to some questions as we are now officially into Sunday night. It's beyond 8:30. Mike wants me to show something to you. Oh, we're gonna look at something really cool. So get your questions ready, but I have a cool little video to play to you. This is from the 49ers themselves. They posted this up on their social media, so we'll credit them for this. It's really good. Take a look. Purdy drilled by Preston Smith. Look at this throw over Keyshawn Nixon's outstretched arm. Jauan Jennings went high to get it. This converted a 3rd and long. And it's one of the throws of Brock Purdy's career. And he's had so many great throws in his young career. But this one, my goodness, the degree of difficulty on both ends for Brock Purdy's throw and for Jauan Jennings' catch was absolutely something else. We can watch this in its full glory, slow-mo, all the way to the end. Thanks to Mike for sending this. Credit to the 49ers digital team for the excellent video. Jauan Jennings is absolutely fired up. Go back to the front of this video. I'm going to pause it because you see Purdy throwing as Preston Smith is hitting him. That takes some guts from Brock Purdy to step into that throw, to be able to see downfield. You can tell that there's a big crowd in front of him, but he needs to pick up this first down. Smith is a good edge rusher. He hits Purdy, and Purdy is throwing to a spot. He's throwing to where Jauan Jennings should be. Has to get it over Keyshawn Nixon's outstretched arm. Nixon is high up in there. That's a nice vertical leap from Keyshawn Nixon. We should look up what his vertical leap was because he is displaying it right there. But guess what? So is Jauan Jennings. And the focus that Jauan Jennings has to show here to time this jump just right, to go up and get this ball with Keyshawn Nixon ahead of him, going up into the air a good 35 inches at least. I mean, that's impressive from Jennings. But he high points that football, and he comes down with it. And the 49ers make one of the most impressive connections that you will see. Both ends of this. This is elite stuff. There was a lot of elite stuff from Brock Purdy yesterday. 4 elite throws in one game. What's really crazy is that Purdy had his misfires, which were bad, and they were numerous, but peppered in between, he had some excellent plays. The touchdown to George Kittle. It's a throw that not many NFL quarterbacks are making with that kind of precision, rolling right, unleashing over 30 yards in the air. What I just showed you to Jauan Jennings, that obviously was also excellent from Brock Purdy. Then you can move to the Brandon Ayuk play on 3rd down and 6. Oh my God, what a dart right over the middle of the field. Chris Conley on the deep out. This was spectacular stuff that was mixed into a much tougher performance, one that saw Brock Purdy really struggle at times. And I think that the common denominator of his struggles this year has been the wet football, with the exception of the Baltimore game. But we look at this and we look at Purdy's struggles this season. I'm going to put the team tier chart back on the page. Look where Cleveland's defense is. Look where Baltimore's defense is. The Ravens obviously got the very last laugh against Purdy. I mean, they made him look bad. They made him turn the ball over a lot. We'll talk more about that, especially if Baltimore is able to win the AFC Championship game and if the 49ers are able to beat the Detroit Lions, because that's going to be the Super Bowl. But we talked a lot about the historically good Cleveland defense this year. You can see how high up they are on the chart. The Browns, especially at home, had wildly good defensive splits. And it just so happens that Purdy played 2 rain games, one against this Browns defense and one against this significantly worse Packers defense. But in both of the rain games, Purdy struggled to grip the football. He struggled to grip it and rip it. But at the end, he figured out a way to make it work. Against the Browns, he led what should have been a game-winning drive, but Jake Moody missed the kick. And against the Packers, he led what was the game-winning drive, 6 out of 7, with the only incompletion being a drop by George Kittle. So Purdy has been derailed by 2 things, the Ravens defense and rain so far this year. And even when he's been derailed by the rain, he's found a way to make up for it in the final moments of the game by leading a potential game-winning drive. Just the context that we need about Brock Purdy as I do seriously, truly open this up to questions right now. Love was more inaccurate than Brock Purdy. Love was dealing with some of the same issues with the wet football, but Brock Purdy was the better quarterback on the field yesterday. And there was a lot of debate about this entering the game. Oh, Jordan Love can do no wrong. Jordan Love can do no wrong. Jordan Love is the epitome of athleticism in the Shanahan-LaFleur system. He's going to be a big upgrade over what Brock Purdy is when we see both of them side by side. All of that ended up being nonsense. Brock Purdy was, even on a day where he was inaccurate due to the wet weather, was more accurate than Jordan Love. He was smarter with some of his decisions than Jordan Love, who threw the ball into that cross-field draft. I mean, that was terrible at the end of the game. And I think some of the gimmies didn't go Brock Purdy's way yesterday, again, dealing with the weather conditions. But he didn't have one that got batted up into the air and intercepted like the 49ers got from Dre Greenlaw. The one throw that Purdy I think almost certainly would like that back from a decision standpoint was the dropped interception from Darnell Savage earlier in the game. But I saw dropped interceptions in multiple games today, especially that first one today. I saw some dropped interceptions early on when the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were playing each other. It is nothing new. Montana in Super Bowl 23, he had a dropped interception that would have been bad in the red zone against the Bengals. That's the game that Montana turned around and won with the 92-yard drive punctuated by the John Taylor touchdown, the John Candy in the stands type of game. So, I think there's historical precedent for everything. The fact that people are trying to cherry pick individual plays here and there without looking at the big picture and looking at, okay, what have other quarterbacks done in the past? Oh, they haven't been world beaters on every single down. The fact that people aren't contextualizing that properly is leading to some really poor discourse around Brock Purdy. But the debate's been settled. And no matter how much people want to cry about it, how much they want to have a temper tantrum about it online, he's indisputably a good quarterback. He's indisputably a huge part of the 49ers' success, and he's indisputably somebody that they're very happy to have on their football team. And if we're judging this honestly within the context that it should be judged in, the fact that Brock Purdy is 24 years old, has already established all of this, has won every single playoff game that he has finished healthy. When you put all of his accolades and accomplishments into the context of his very young age, you can't help but just be floored, blown away. You can't help but be positive about what Brock Purdy has done so far. Akshay says, I love how people say Purdy needs to have a comeback drive, and then when he does, people say, no, not like that. Not like that. Well, what exactly was the complaint about yesterday's comeback drive? It featured a very arm strength heavy throw, dime out of the break to Chris Conley outside the numbers. It featured a very accurate throw to Brandon Ayuk over the middle of the field. It featured athleticism with Purdy rolling out to the left side and scrambling down to the 5-yard line. I mean, it was really, really high-level stuff from Brock Purdy. Type of stuff that Brady used to do, type of stuff that Joe Montana used to do. That's what they did in game-winning situations in the playoffs. And Brock Purdy put himself into that game-winning situation and delivered for the 49ers yesterday. As you saw with the Bills-Chiefs game right now, it's not that easy to do. Josh Allen had a chance, didn't get it done. They settled for a field goal, and then Tyler Bass missed the field goal. So we didn't have a game-winning drive in either of the two games. Baker Mayfield failed when he was trying to come from behind against the Detroit Lions today. It's not easy to notch a game-winning drive, especially in the postseason. And Brock Purdy did it in a way that should satisfy all of the demands unless the goalposts are moved. And yes, the goalposts do seem to have been moved since Brock Purdy had that epic finish yesterday. Go for Broke is issuing a correction. He erred when he said the 49ers and Cowboys met in the playoffs in January 73. The divisional game was actually played in 72. Yes, so the 71 and 72 seasons, back then the playoffs did not bleed into the next year. Maybe the Super Bowl did, but the playoffs were still played in December. The NFL just lengthened the schedule over time, and they may lengthen it even further here moving forward. But yes, the second playoff game at Candlestick Park, the divisional game in 1972. That's the one where the Cowboys had the onside kick, right? That little squibber of a kick that had all the English on it, and they made the big comeback. They ripped the 49ers' hearts out on that day. The media and this 1-30 stat, like most teams are, around the same sample would be like 2-28 or maybe 3-27. And there are other teams, I'm sure, that would be 0-30 over that time. This is the NFL. It is not easy to come from behind in the fourth quarter, which should make people appreciate what Brock Purdy and the 49ers did yesterday. But whenever you set up a stat that says this is their record from that point on, and you establish the starting point as the beginning of the fourth quarter, you don't expect the team's record to be good. I mean, otherwise, teams would try to be behind entering the fourth quarter, and nobody in their right mind would attempt anything like that because they know that you'd rather be ahead entering the fourth quarter because that's more tied with winning. So the laws of football and success within the sport are essentially universal. Certain teams are going to have different types of strengths within that, but the larger truth is you want to be ahead in the fourth quarter. And I can't believe that we're sitting here having to establish that as some kind of larger truth because the obvious is not so obvious anymore. But the media does overblow stats that seem crazy bad, but actually aren't that bad when you put them into context. What did I have for dinner? I'm going to have a burrito. I'm having a burrito with my friend in about 20 minutes. So no dinner for me yet. I ate a later lunch today. I think the pass rush didn't get home with as many sacks because Jordan Love was running the deep drop back method that Patrick Mahomes ran in the Super Bowl against the 49ers 4 years ago. I mean, he's got the arm talent Love does to do it. So does Mahomes, but just shade back, fade, fade, fade. And it's tougher for the pass rush to get to you, and you could let the routes develop in front of you. The only way you can run that is if your quarterback has an exceptionally strong arm. I think Jordan Love has a strong arm, and he was able to back away from the 49ers pass rush. That being said, it's not like Jordan Love was exceptionally efficient in this football game. I can go to the stats page here for you and show you the box score. So, regardless of what Love did and what the 49ers might not have done, we can look at this in the aggregate and we can see that Jordan Love didn't end up having a great game. Brock Purdy actually had a significantly better game than Jordan Love. And it's important to bring that up because it gives us the perspective that is absolutely necessary regarding the quarterback performance in this football game. There it is. Let me take this off the screen so you could see it. Maybe take my face off the screen as well. You could see the EPA per play. If you're shaded in green, you're above the 50th percentile. If you're not shaded in green, you're below it. So Purdy solidly above the 50th percentile. I could tell you exactly where he was. 64th percentile. And Jordan Love was at the 45th percentile. Purdy, total EPA 67th percentile. Jordan Love down at the 46th percentile. So Love was below average yesterday. Purdy was above average. So let's not talk about the Packers giving the 49ers some kind of completely unassailable problems through the pass game. The bottom line is that the 49ers slipped a lot on the back end, gave up some explosives, but in general, stopped Jordan Love and the Packers when they absolutely had to. Thanks in large part to Jordan Love making some inaccurate throws, including that first interception that was behind the crosser popped up to Dre Greenlaw. Mike asks, it is official that Brock Purdy has problems throwing in the rain? Well, I think we saw it. I think we've seen it over 2 games. But again, my main thing before the game was both teams have to play through this, and any quarterback is going to have trouble throwing a wet football unless he's a tank-like machine like Josh Allen with massive hands. And Jordan Love was inaccurate and was misfiring because of the rain too yesterday. So when I was saying both teams have to play through this, the 49ers have to persevere, they did. And Brock Purdy ultimately figured it out and persevered. It is a concern to have on your radar moving forward, but not for this season. Why? Because the 49ers don't play a rain game anymore this season. It's not slated to rain on Sunday for the NFC title, and the Super Bowl would be inside at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Moses asks me what I think the biggest Lions threat to the 49ers is. It is the Lions' run game. I'm going to share some more data with you here. We're going to go to the offensive charts for this season, and I will be able to show you the Detroit Lions run game. plotted against their passing efficiency. So rushing, passing efficiency. Run efficiency is going to be found on the y-axis. Pass efficiency is going to be found on the x-axis. The Lions are right here. They're with the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Rams. The Bills and the Dolphins were a little bit better than them. The 49ers are in a different galaxy of efficiency over here. But the Lions firmly being in the top right, near the Green Bay Packers, shows us that they have the balance to put a strain on the 49ers, who have the number 26 ranked run defense. If you want another illustration, we can look at the defensive version of this chart. And the defensive version of this chart shows the San Francisco 49ers in the bottom right because their run defense has struggled this year. So they're offensively, Lions up here, run offense. Defensively, 49ers down here, run defense. Now, the 49ers have a better pass defense. Detroit's pass defense has actually lagged this season. Looks like a chance, especially on a dry track, for Brock Purdy to put up some numbers against the Detroit Lions. So there are weaknesses here, but the 49ers have some too. And the biggest threat comes via that run game. This right here isn't true at all. Nice comment from Andrew. Thank you. But Kyle Juszczyk did not feel undervalued. He's the highest paid fullback in the league. Kyle Shanahan actually talked about this a couple days ago. Juszczyk really understands his role on this team, and he's one of many, many capable targets. But he realizes that Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle all have comparative advantages relative to him with his hands on the ball in the open field, and he's quite okay with it. So Juszczyk won't want to be traded in the future. Don't worry about that. He understands the dynamic of the 49ers offense and how well his adaptable fullback skill set fits the 49ers. I don't think it fits as well anywhere else. And again, they've made him the highest paid fullback in league history twice now for his trouble. And it's not a lot of trouble for Kyle Juszczyk. He's very happy in that locker room. Does Deebo Samuel need an MRI tomorrow? I don't know because we didn't get an update today. But I'm assuming they're going to go MRI just to make sure it's not a hairline fracture, which is what he suffered in week 6 against the Browns, and it kept him out for 2 games. So stay tuned tomorrow for the update. Mike asks, will the 49ers defensive line have better success against the Lions than the Packers? I think the Lions also have a good offensive line. They have obviously run blocked very well. I think Green Bay was strong up front. So I think it might be a slight step down in competition for the 49ers. I don't think that Jared Goff scares them as much as Jordan Love. I don't think Love scared them, but I'm just saying as far as ceiling of quarterbacks, I think that Goff is much more of a known commodity, might have a higher floor than Jordan Love, but a lower ceiling. As far as the lines go, it's going to be good, hard football in the trenches. 49ers have to step up. 49ers have to sharpen up their game on the aggregate defensively against the Lions moving forward if they want to comfortably win this NFC Championship game. I think the run defense might be what the run defense is. I think you can improve it a little bit with some of your alignments. You can improve it by good schematics, by moving guys up into the box, but then you open yourself up to play action on the back end, and we saw that happen yesterday. The main thing is that Armstead, maybe he knocks off a little bit of rust. He was out for a bit, plays into shape. I think that the plantar fasciitis might be something that lingers, though, with him, and it might mean that he's not the same dominant player that he was a couple years ago. I don't know for sure, though. So you just have to hope that stuff like that, because Armstead has been such an impactful run defender, does help you. But when I say that the 49ers are who they are, they have put a lot of resources into becoming a pass rushing team, a focus on that. And Javon Hargrave is an excellent pass rusher. He's not a great run stopper. Chase Young, I think, is a better pass rusher than he is a run stopper. Nick Bosa is awesome at both, but it's not going to be feasible to find 4 defensive linemen that are awesome at both on one team. So that's just in the 49ers DNA. Just like some teams are better at passing than running, the 49ers are better at pass rushing than they are run defending. Yes, Kyle speaks with the media tomorrow. Aiden Hutchinson is going to present a problem when he's lined up opposite Colton McKivitz. I got to ask my friend how far away he is so I know what time I'm leaving for a burrito. I'll go until you get here. I'm going to look at the offensive line numbers for the 49ers yesterday while this is up on the screen. I know I haven't gone through these in as much detail yet, but we can go to yesterday's game, take a look at some of the grades, see some of the pressures that the 49ers gave up. So here we go. Pressures allowed. Banks allowed 5. McKivitz allowed 5. 42 pass blocking opportunities. Feliciano allowed 4. That's a lot of pressure the 49ers gave up. Trent Williams allowed 2. Spencer Burford in 7 snaps allowed 1 pressure. Jake Brendel only 1. The Packers, meanwhile, pass rushing wise, racked up 5 pressures through Preston Smith, who you saw drilling Brock Purdy on that beautiful throw to Juwan Jennings. The defensive tackle, Carl Brooks, had 4 pressures. Rashawn Gary, the defensive end, who works primarily against right tackle, so against Colton McKivitz, had 4. Kenny Clark in the middle had 4. Lucas Van Ness, outside linebacker, 2. TJ Slayton, defensive tackle, 2. Colby Wooden, defensive tackle, 1. So, yes, Colton McKivitz did give up his share of pressure, and now he's got Aiden Hutchinson, the Michigan product, up next. We have about 10 more minutes. Before I go get a burrito. Astro Lobster says Joe Montana wouldn't be able to make the same throws in today's NFL coverage with how coverage schemes have evolved. Yeah, but quarterbacks have evolved too. So I'm sure if you put Joe Montana and his talents in the modern game and let him develop in the modern game, he would adapt to how the modern game works. I mean, Joe had a lot of talent, a lot of anticipatory ability. So I wouldn't doubt Joe Montana like that. You just got to realize it works era by era, but you'd also have to give Joe the benefit of adjusting to the era in which he played. Taqueria Cancun. That's usually the answer. That's my favorite. If the 49ers win on Sunday, yes, I am going to the Super Bowl. You guys get to see the backside of that jersey if the 49ers win the Super Bowl. Isn't that exciting? We're now officially at the same spot that the 49ers saw their high water mark last year. We are in the NFC Championship week. Last season, they lost to Philadelphia in this week. See what happens moving forward. Sometimes I need a break from the live stream. I did one from the driverless car. I did one earlier today. I don't know if I could do a burrito live stream today. Sam Wilson thinks that the Farrell loss might be bigger than the 49ers thought. He doesn't think that Chase Young sets the edge and plays the run as well. Farrell's really good as the base down edge setter, but we'll see. We will see. Yesterday was, I think, a tough day in that regard early on. The 49ers made some adjustments, but they're going to have to dig deep, and they do have that extra day of rest over the Lions, which could be something that at least in a slight way plays into their favor, but they do have to man up along that defensive line. I haven't live streamed yet in the Pacific Ocean. I've done videos from it. I would need to find an underwater case. If anybody has good recommendations, I would need to find a waterproof case for my phone to go live from the actual bay. And, if the 49ers make the Super Bowl, we might have to get really creative with that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Go for broke as a prediction for the NFC Championship game. 38-24 49ers, only because if the 49ers win, they'd be 38-24 all-time in playoff games. And if the 49ers win, they will have notched an NFL record 38th playoff win. The win against the Packers moved the 49ers into a tie with Green Bay and New England for first place at 37 all-time playoff wins. If they get one more, the 49ers are going to be in sole possession of first place, and then they could win the Super Bowl and get up to 40 or 39. Actually, they're at 37 right now. They want to get up to 39 this season. 40 would not be able to happen until next year. The Bay is pretty cold. I think it's like 52 right now. I'm not sure. It gave me a nice I cold plunged today, right? And it reset my body after all the adrenaline of yesterday. That was, by the way, that was the loudest I had ever heard Levi's Stadium. The atmosphere there was electric. I was down in the tunnel of the stadium after, and I mean, it was just chaos all around the place. It was really cool. I really, really cherish being at big time sporting events and feeling the electricity. And you felt it. The rain made it even more palpable at the start of the game. And then obviously everything became more palpable when we saw how the 49ers were able to turn around their fortunes as the game progressed, especially late into the do or die phase of things. It was an epic sporting event that people who attended and people who watched will remember for a long, long time. I did not live stream the Alcatraz swim, but I posted a video shortly after. We had to edit it after because we got a bunch of different clips, and it was like I didn't want to bore people by showing you unedited clips. Manny thinks the 49ers get schemed up really well on run plays. The defense doesn't seem to do a good job shedding blocks. And that's a lot of that's a desire thing. It's a technique and a desire thing. And that was one of the worst run defense performances we had seen in a while from the 49ers yesterday. They're going to have to be a whole lot better against the Detroit Lions with how good that running offense is. First Levi Stadium game for CM coming on Sunday. Awesome. Congratulations. Would I say Levi's during the playoffs is up there in terms of top NFL home environments? I wouldn't have said that until yesterday. Now it's in contention. Yesterday was the loudest I'd ever heard it. Yesterday had a true playoff like buzz. I honestly had not seen Levi's in that kind of mode until yesterday. I'm specifically talking about McCaffrey's 39-yard touchdown run. Up until that point, that's the loudest I'd heard the building. Then the green line reception. I mean, with McCaffrey's run, that one built. It was a crescendo, right? It built in intensity over time because he had that stutter step and the juke, and then he bolted forward. It was awesome, awesome stuff. So it was it was one of those plays that was conducive to the crowd getting really loud. And then, boy, when Jordan Love is rolling out, throws across the field, terrible decision. Everyone sniffed interception, and the whole place. I mean, it was this buildup, right? It was this buildup in anticipation as that ball sailed through the air, and then when Dre Greenlaw cut in front of it, stole the interception from Fred Warner. Maybe on that play, the place just erupted, and that was the loudest that I'd ever heard Levi Stadium. Go for broke, spend the keys on Candlestick, but not Levi's. I would love to do live calls. That's my goal, is to do play by play. I've done play by play before. That's like my main passion. So I love talking to the camera. That's why I'm sitting here. I promote my articles using social media, using YouTube, but hell, if I could call games, that'd be great. Never got to go to Candlestick. That's too bad. All right, Talkeria Cancun, here we come. Hope everybody has a very fun evening. 45 minutes seems about right for the show. I put in a lot of time for you guys today. So if you are new here, if you haven't had a chance to yet, go ahead and check out my work on The Athletic. We have the big Christian McCaffrey piece from last night. That one was a lot of fun to write. It's right here. So I'm going to tweet it out right now. McCaffrey guaranteed he'd score, and he did score. Big touchdown for the 49ers on 18 Mike. That was the name of the play. We'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks for watching.